Once we have our holster attached to the back wall of the tac bracket using a quick disconnect system or our direct connect plate, the next step will be to adjust our retention arm so it fits snugly down over the grip of the handgun, not allowing someone to take out the handgun that's not authorized to do so or we don't want to do so. So in order to do that, we have our patent pending retention arm system here has a threaded arm that when you move the lock to the right, it's going to tighten the arm down. And when you move the lock to the left, it's going to create more space to allow you to accommodate, we can accommodate any handgun on this from subcompact all the way up to full-size handguns on the tac bracket due to this design. The other adjustability factor comes from this ratcheted swing arm here where when we put the lock onto, we can go to any of these ratchets that work. And so to start the adjustment process, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to a ratchet that feels like it's where we want to be. Now here we're on the lowest ratchet and it's just way too loose. So that's the lowest ratchet I want to go to. That's the lowest tooth I can clip onto. But you can see here, it's way too loose against the back. There's actually little space here underneath between the grip and the retention arm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this from the system. And I'm going to take the key out and I'm going to spin this lock clockwise. Okay, I'm going to spin this lock clockwise to the right. And I'm going to go about 4 times. Okay, that's going to move it about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and then I'm going to try it again. I'm going to go to that same tooth on the ratchet, and now that's much better. That's actually touching the bottom. That's actually touching the back grip of the handgun there, and that's nice. That's where I want to be. So once I get that there, then I want to take a 9/16. This is 3/8 inch nut here. I want to take a 9/16 wrench, and I'm just going to tighten this down with that lock nut there and tighten that down in place. Now this nut isn't what's holding it together. It just holds the swing arm in an orientation that's square, but this nut obviously isn't doing the locking. If you undo that nut, you're still not going to be able to get the handgun out. We're going to send you the tac bracket pre-installed in a certain hole. But we have these holes in the front here so you can move this swing arm apparatus. And what you're really looking for here is you want to make sure that the bracket isn't easily moved over the top, the tang of the gun, or over the back grip. Now, in this situation with a Glock 43, the back grip is really pretty small. And so this might be our bigger consideration as far as if we move it further back, it's easier to move it over the top of this grip. It's not easy to do, but if I really put some force in it, this would be tough. If it was in a console, I couldn't get force on it. But if I really put force on it, I could probably move it over the back of that grip. Now, so what I want to do in this situation is I want to move this forward, so now the top of that arc that's created by this pivot point is not allowing me to move that grip over. So let's move that forward and see how that affects. The tac bracket comes with 8 different holes that you can use on this front to move this swing arm apparatus. And again, we want to get this to the point where it's at the best place for your particular firearm. In order to move this apparatus, basically what you're going to need a 5/32 Allen wrench, and you're going to need a ratchet or something you can get to. This is a nylock nut back here, which allows the system to move without ever coming loose. So you're going to need a 7/16 ratchet here on the back, and then to move this, you basically are just going to put that ratchet on the back, and you're going to unscrew the front screw here, and that will allow you to disassemble this. You can see this pyramid nut on the inside here. It doesn't allow anything other than a ratchet to get to it. So if a firearm's in place, it's basically, you can't do this unless a firearm is removed. So disassemble this, and then you can just keep it all together and then move it to whatever hole you desire and then reassemble using the reverse process. So I'm going to put it in the 4th hole from the back this time. Make sure that bushing goes back in there. And I'm going to put my pyramid nut on there and then get my nut started here. And then I'll go to my ratchet to tighten it up. Again, we want to tighten this so so when the swing arm is moving, it stays in the place you want it. And that's your personal preference. We want to make sure we tighten it so it's snug, and then the swing arm stays in place and nothing's going to move underneath. So now we have it on the 4th hole forward, was on the 2nd hole forward with that Glock 43. Let's take a look at how that works now. Okay, previously on this Glock 43, we were on the 2nd hole from the back. We have 8 holes we can use. We were on the 2nd from the back. We've moved that up 2 full holes. Let's see how that affects the security of this Glock 43. Get that down. That's a nice ratchet there. Now, much more difficult to get that over the back of that gun, and still to lift it straight up over that tang is extremely difficult as well. So moving that forward, you got to play around because all guns are different. We can't prescribe which hole you should use, but move it around. So typically it's going to have a little forward tilt to it. So move that around so it's going to best fit your handgun, not allow someone to move that over the top, either over the back or over the top of the gun.